also on the second factor, whether it's an OTP or a biometric credential. Then next thing is that it's going to ask us if you want to install attended enrollment. So the way that the attended enrollment works is that if you would like to have a supervisor or an admin to supervise the credential enrollment, without this being installed, any user can actually add his own credential, which is perfectly fine for certain use cases. But if you have a more stricter organization and they want to have a supervisor for each enrollment, then you can basically just add this in, and it will delegate this to a specific group in the directory. You can actually specify this, but it could be a supervisory group that will be responsible, or that can actually own the second factor for authentication. But in this case, we don't need to do that now, so we can just install the basic. So one touch log on enables users to log in via other credentials. This is actually the credential provider. And password manager, this is a nifty app like OneKey or the common application password managers that you're quite familiar with. The only difference is that instead of using a password to open up the password vault or your credential repository, you can actually use two-factor authentication or a different factor for that matter, whether it's something that you have or something that you are, to actually access the credential. And then obviously the fingerprint recognition engine. This is for authentication or verification when you actually perform local auth on the machine. Okay. Are you guys still there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, so just let me know if you have some clarification.
Yeah. So can you please repeat about that attended environment as you mentioned, the fourth option in the previous screen?
Yeah. So in fact, attended enrollment is described in the client guide.
Okay.
So if you want to go to the details, you can basically go through that. It explains what it's for. So again, the main idea around attended enrollment is if a organization doesn't want its customers to enroll his credentials without supervision.
Okay.
If an organization wants to supervise the enrollment, let's say for example, either Samir or Samit. Let's say for example, Samir is the user and Samit is the supervisor. So whenever Samir enrolls his fingerprint on the workstation or on the domain controller, basically on digital persona, before he can enroll the fingerprint, he needs to get Samit to approve his enrollment, which means what will happen is, I'll show you.
Okay.
Done. Oh, okay, I have to restart. The only difference is that instead of showing the screen to enroll the biometric information or the fingerprint, instead of immediately seeing that screen, it will ask you for a password or it will ask you to enter your credentials. But instead of asking the user, it will ask Samit for his credentials instead of your credentials. Does that make sense? So it means Samit needs to approve your application by entering his own credentials.
Okay.
Okay. So now I have what? Sign-in options because I've just installed Digital Persona.
Yeah.
Okay. So I can have what? One-time password and
Password. Okay.
Yeah. So enter my password. And the reason why I'm getting this is I have my two-factor set up. is I've forced for this particular user. I'll show that to you in a while. If I to step up, I have actually, this is an existing user. I just remembered. I actually have forced the user to do two-factor without going to the policy. So so I'm actually back to the workstation, right? So on the workstation now I have the digital persona agent. So I have the digital persona process. So instead of me being able to access it immediately, right? For example, if I want to change my fingerprint, it's going to ask my password. Okay? So going back to your question, for attended enrollment, instead of asking my password, it will ask for the supervisor's password. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's really the only difference, right? Basically, it can be defined more than a password, or it could be more than a password if you define a policy for that. But the idea is, before you're allowed to enter or update your credentials, you need a supervisor to review your action. Okay? I didn't have fingerprint either, but that's perfectly fine. So now, once we have this, right? And next thing that I have to check is on the user side, right? So I have, and by the way, when I right click now, I can see two new options: delete license and secret credentials. So I can optionally choose to delete and update credentials for this particular user. And if I want to view the policy for my account, so I've actually forced myself to do what? To do Windows password plus OTP. That's why I was required to enter both. So now when I lock my workstation, I need to enter both password and OTP login. Right?
Yes.
Okay, but if I right, so now
so it can be set for per user also.
absolutely, yes, absolutely. And that's the nice thing about the group policy, right? Is you can associate that to only specific groups or to a specific user. So now, since I guess fortunately and both unfortunately, since it's a GPO, right? We need to adhere to certain protocols of Microsoft, but we can always force the update. So that's what I'm doing now. So after running a GP update, hopefully I should be able to see, right? So now I have signing options.
Okay. It gives me options.
Yeah. So without asking me to set up OTP or asking me to enter my OTP credentials, I can actually log in immediately. So that's digital persona in a nutshell for you guys. It's really very simple. Any questions?
As of now, I think it is fine.
The last thing that we need to do for backtext, so just to let you know, is this Rages extension. So I don't have NTS installed, but you need to install NTS on Microsoft services or on the server. You just need to define or identify a NTS server. You guys are familiar with NTS, right?
And what is
NPS, yeah.
NPS?
Okay, let's that's NTS.
Microsoft NPS.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Right? So NTS stands for Network Quality Server. So you just need to install this on either on a very simple demo. I think you can also install that on the domain controller if you want. But on an actual deployment, this would be a separate server, but also linked to the AD. So the NT server provides the Rages functionality, right? So this is just referring to BankNet's other use case, because they wanted to authenticate Solaris machine or AIX machine, if I remember it well. So in order for us to support that, right, since they're not connected to the directory, we can authenticate them via Rages.
Oh, okay. For it's like an interface basically.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
Once we have the NTS server in place, you just need to run the installer, and that's it.
Okay, the plugin.
So these are the different plugins for as per.
No, it's just really one plugin, to be honest. But it's one for 64, one for for user. So we have two plugins, one for 64-bit and one for. It's exactly the same. The only difference is that the second one, or the second batch, or the second set of files is for LDS. The first one is for Active Directory, and the second one is if you're using LDS to store the attributes. But pretty much it's basically the same one. It's just different packaging. Okay.
Edward, I had one question. Is it compulsory to install the digital persona server separately, or we can integrate with AD also?
We just integrated it with AD, right? So it is preferred to integrate it with AD. That's the preferred option. However, I know that there are certain customers or even certain IT.
For example, certain customers would have AD, so in that case, we can use the digital persona server for authentication.
There is no server, to be honest, for digital persona. It's just LDS. So the non-AD support of digital persona is going to be LDS, Microsoft LDS.
Okay, so
It means you don't have a directory.
Okay, so it's like a dependent on AD in that case, like on the user.
That's correct, yes, because that's really what we're trying to do. We're trying to add a layered authentication on the directory users' credentials.
And also we can integrate with OpenLDAP or like non-AD directory.
No, so we support Active Directory only.
Okay.
Oh, specific.
Yeah, got it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that, guys, in fact, we ran a little bit over, but I need to go in 5 minutes. I think, just try to run it on your own environments. I've shared the guide. I've also uploaded the documentation. Run through it, and hopefully you can at least get basic setup working. So if you want to do two-factor, right? What you can do is you can enroll. Show you. You can enroll an OTP. So if you go to one-time password, right?
Yeah.
You can download a digital persona on your app store. Just type digital persona. If you have an Android or a iPhone,
Okay.
type digital persona.
Okay, it supports two OS basically.
Yeah, saw it, right? So yeah, just download that, install it, and then once you have it, what you need to do is you just need to scan it,
Yeah, so
Barcode scan.
barcode.
and it's gonna just register.
Yeah.
Then once you have that, then you can basically test it even without a fingerprint or a card, right? Because that's really what we're trying to do. We're just trying to do a test of two-factor authentication. So if you can get both the directory set up and the workstation with the agent configured, you can enroll a second factor. And I think that the easier second factor would be a one-time password, and then yeah, you can get it. You should be able to get it working.
Okay.
Okay.
I got your point. Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, without having the device, we can do the testing of this.
Correct. That's right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, one more thing, Edward. You also shared one SDK document. So, what is that? Maybe where it is, where the SDK is used basically.
It might be useful for PNB, but not for BankNet. Don't worry about that for the moment. I just kind of like share that just for reference. But even for BankNet use case, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to move them to use SAML IDP, so we don't have to do any coding to actually get their use case supported. So we have a kind of like a single sign-on portal that they just need to do. So in that portal, they can basically do all of these things as long as they're registered or enrolled in the Active Directory or in their respective Active Directory. Then we should be able to support use case quite easily, even with a fingerprint. So we don't have to kind of like discuss the BankNet details first. I think as soon as you have the basic setup on your environment, the next thing that you need to do is set up the NPS server, network policy server. Obviously, we don't documentation guide to describe that. You can just look how you would install the Microsoft. It's really very easy. You just go to the install manager and yes, as an addition.
Yes.
And install plugin, which is the one that I showed you, and then yeah, that should make the BankNet use case work. Okay, so Yuri, how about you? How are you doing?
I'm fine, sir. I just list all the steps and I will try
Okay.
it later.
Okay, sige. Ikaw na bahala.
Sure, sir. Bali,
Okay,
sir,
sure.
balitaan ko na lang kayo bukas siguro, sir, kung sakaling yun nga sa installation kung may mga kayo question. Bye,
No,
bye,
no
sir.
worries. So just to let you know, I'm actually traveling on Monday, and I'll be traveling